Earlier, but well, hi Brenda. Thanks for helping me with my project.
No problem.
So, did you know that NASA is planning to send people back to the moon in 2024?
I had no idea the date and sort of assumed that we always were intending on doing that one day, but no firm date. So that's awesome.
How long ago do you think it was since the last time we went?
Well, I did check out your website, so now I know.
Oh, cool.
72.
72, exactly. Um, and between 69 and 72, we had six landings on the moon with people each. So that's like 12 people. They were all white men. This time, they're planning to send a woman on the first landing. And I was wondering, you think that's a good idea?
If she's qualified as anybody else, why not?
Plenty of qualified women out there. So,
Yep.
so what do you think about space exploration? Is it something that the government should be spending money on, or is it should they like private people only do it? I mean, like, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I haven't delved into it too much, but I definitely think we need to be out there exploring. I think that there's so much more to know, and we would be arrogant to assume that we're just floating around by ourselves, without sounding like some really crazy weirdo. It's unfathomable to me that we're the only creatures out here. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think we need to explore. Now, where the money comes from, whoever does it best, I don't know. You know, more power to what's his face that keeps trying to go.
Oh, Elon Musk.
What's the guy's name? Yes. More power to him. If he gets there first and is discovering things, great.
Uh, I presume you know who Jeff Bezos is.
Yes.
Did you know he has a space company too?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
I
called
mean, he's
Blue.
got 1,000 things, money he could spend on. So
I know. It's called Blue Origin, and every year he says he sells $1 billion of Amazon stock to fund it. So it's like kind of a whole. Anyway, it's a little bit more secretive than Elon. So there's a couple people doing stuff. Um, so I get a question like, if you were to come back and look at humanity 500 years from now, what do you think you would find?
if I live 500 years from now and look
Oh,
back at
and let's just say
today,
you magically were able to see humanity 500 years from now. I mean, like, what does humanity look like 500
oh,
years from now? Is really more the question.
this is where I'm going to test you too. So if I were Doctor Who,
Yes. If you were Doctor Who in the TARDIS and you said, set it to, 2500, and you walk out with like the little canine robot, um, you know, back from the Tom Baker era of Doctor Who,
yes, what would I see?
what would you see?
Mm, you know, maybe things that looked a lot different on the outside, but I don't think humans are all that different. So I think we'd be still making the same mistakes and also be still doing the same wonderful creative things, just whatever it was then. I don't know that humanity changes all that much.
Maybe, well, how about where humanity is? Do you think we're like on the sea, under the sea? We've like put stuff in the moon. We've created like self-contained space stations throughout the solar system. We're on Mars. Are we only on Earth, on land, and pretty much the same places we've always been?
I don't know. See, you're asking at a unique time where I feel like maybe we can do this thing for a couple times and just keep killing ourselves off so we just keep living here on Earth. I don't know. I mean, I think that we're capable of figuring out a way to live on other planets, but I don't know if 500 years is the right amount of time or what. Under the sea sounds a little, I don't know, sounds a little weird, claustrophobic to me.
Or on the
Uh,
sea? I mean, the Pacific Ocean is literally half the surface of the globe.
well, if we could just melt all that plastic out there and create a little platform for
Oh,
some people.
exactly. You just have to glue it together.
Yeah. I don't, I think that we'll see creative ways of dealing with our environment. I love, and I'm sure you're paying attention to it too, just this little bit of a break on what our regular output is on the environment has shown such a difference. I hope we learn these lessons and remember them. Fingers crossed. Um, so yeah, I don't know. You know, wouldn't it be cool if we were living with other species?
I know. Well, the funny thing is we are. It's just we don't treat them as first class citizens.
Well, yeah, that's true. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that we don't know exist right now. So,
One of the things that a lot of people talk about the first time we went to the moon was when you had Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong stepping off of that lander. Like literally everybody in the world was tuned into it, and it brought us all together. And I think a lot of people in sort of like space circles kind of imagining that happening again, but I think a lot of people would not even be aware of it. But in some respects, this COVID-19 thing is our, landing on the moon, bringing us all together type of experience where we're literally all tuned in and experiencing the same thing worldwide as one global family. And I mean, how do you think that might affect things?
I hope for the better. I mean, it's the same as 9/11 sort of did that for us all. Um, and for a small amount of time, we all felt that, and we all walked in the same space together, but it didn't last that long. And I almost feel like we came out the other side of it even more divided, so this, though, is different. Maybe this will allow us to see all of us as essential. I mean, how many of us are thanking our lucky stars for the grocery stockers and
and the Uber Eats guy?
Yeah, one always hopes that we will rise to our best version of ourselves. Fingers crossed. I don't know. I do think that more and more as these kind of things happen, we become more of a global citizenship, like that the world can't continue to isolate themselves from each other and pretend that we don't need each other, and this will be yet another example of how, as a world system, we need to cooperate.
Yeah, and how freedom of speech for a dentist in Wuhan, China, literally affects us all.
Yeah. Don't even get me started there.
Would you believe I had visited a Chinese friend of mine doing this interview on the day he died, and she was like, "Oh, you should." They were so upset and so mad, about the way he was treated and the whole thing. And part of me thinks that like the aggressive Chinese response wasn't only to contain the virus, but maybe also to contain some of the political fallout too.
Oh, I think there's things we will never know about how this got started. Conspiracy theories galore, but I kind of wonder whether this was something created in the lab in the first place.
And, it's amazing how quickly our government's willing to spend $2 trillion. Can you imagine what's in there?
What does that tell you? That we're all being written checks? I mean, what does that say?
I mean, it's like UBI. It's universal basic income right there. Boom.
Yeah. It's just, there's too much information to process to figure out all the things that we should, like, just glaringly obvious of what we've been doing wrong, Just.
I know. I mean, you hope life doesn't go back to normal because then that means we're just back where we were, It's just
exactly.
And
yeah.
Well,
hopefully things change.
I hope so, in a positive way, in a way that's more inclusive and, basically our economy was meant to help people. Our people weren't created to create the economy. It's like, it's all about the people.
Do you remember Brian Hollis? He was a couple of years older than us.
I remember Brian.
He started a petition. Yeah, are you Facebook friends with him?
I haven't seen him there though. Maybe I'll
He
reach
started a
out.
petition to have congressmen forego their salaries, since that's the taxpayers' dollars, while all of this is going on with so many people unemployed. I was like, good point.
Well, there's two sides of that. You know, the Texas elected officials, like for the Texas Senate and Texas House, like they get paid very small amount of money, and you pretty much have to be independently wealthy to kind of run for those positions. So the other side of it, we got to be careful that we don't exclude the ability for like a regular person to like run for office. But in reality, they need so much money to get elected anyway. You know, is there really any? I mean, is anybody really electing their neighbor? Probably not.
No, and anyone with common sense, would they really want to be elected?
I know, so that's the thing we got to fix too, right? I mean, we look at these guys and girls that are in like politics as like completely foreign. You have to be in order to make it through all that. I mean, how could we make it so like we could vote Brenda into office?
Brenda has no desire to be anywhere in that world,
I
right? Like,
know. I know.
yeah.
Yeah. So my last question is, if space travel was safe and affordable as like airline travel before the COVID-19 thing, then would you have any desire into like going into orbit or going to the moon or going to Mars?
I'm not going to say no. I think I would. You know, I have no idea what that would look like. Now, would I want to get on a spaceship and be on a ship for 2 weeks traveling around and then just come back? No, I'd probably want to get off somewhere. It's kind of like why I won't go on a cruise. I want to be on a boat and just go around.
So maybe to the moon, like 3 days there, stay there for a few days, come back 3 days, and you're like, I went someplace. Collect some moon
Yeah.
rocks,
Meditated.
meditated, yes. That would be awesome. Well, thank you very
You
much.
could be alone with your thoughts.
Any last comments before I stop the recording?
Nope. I know very little about space, but the more I'm informed, the more interesting it sounds. So go for it.
I mean,
Explore.
there's so much happening in the human space in terms of, I don't mean like space exploration, I just meant like, arts and drama and politics and economics and technology. I mean, nobody can know even a little about a lot of things. It's just like too much. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not surprising that most of the people I talk to don't know much about space. I actually try to find the people that don't know about space to talk to them and see what they think. So, well, thank you.
Most of us probably have a vague idea and are somewhat curious.
Yeah, that seems normal. Okay.